Hello, everyone. My name is Don, the movie reviewer, and today we're going to be talking about a film by Darren Aronofsky. He is one of my favorite directors, probably on my top five. Mother. This is a film that I've been really looking forward to coming out this year, and I finally got the chance to see it. Let's take a look at it.
We spend all our time here. I want to make a paradise.
She redid all of it, every last detail. And she breathed life back into every room.
Are you happy?
I love you.
God help you.
They've come here to see me.
Come quick! You're insane! You're insane!
All I'm trying to do is bring life into this house. Open the door to new people, new ideas.
You give and you give and you give. It's just never enough.
I have no idea. I can only give you my opinion. I think this movie is about love, life, but what do I mean when I talk about life? I mean the human existence, what the human race has brought upon themselves throughout the millennium. This movie is also about human relationships, human hatred, humanity's sorrow, humanity's pain, and whatever else goes on with the human existence. Dear Lord, what a head trip this movie is, let me tell you. This movie is engaging, giving the viewer the inside view of everything from Mother's perspective. You, the viewer, gets to know how she feels, how she thinks, and her behavior throughout the movie is adrenaline pumping because it puts you in her position. And it's frustrating to watch her sometimes because I'm yelling at her at the screen, telling her, don't do that, go down that way, don't go in this room and all this stuff, and she's doing the complete opposite. Some people may call this heavy-handed, but I beg to differ. This movie is the reality that we all must face. There are certain things that go on in this world that are sometimes extreme. Most people put it to the back of their mind. They choose to ignore it, pretend like it isn't there. But it's always going to be there until the end of time. Life, human ignorance, human relationships. Like in most relationships, one partner treats their other partner like they're their personal property. And paranoia is another thing in this movie too. There are scenes in this movie when you don't know exactly what's going to happen next. One person has a problem, something that bothers them emotionally, and during that moment, that person on the receiving end flips out and cracks under the pressure. And also the person who is projecting those emotions toward the other person cracks under the pressure also, not being able to control their emotions. So from there on, someone on the receiving end, on the emotional breakdown that they're feeling, will be affected by that person's reactions. So now we have a conflict. I didn't know where the story was going. It had me on an emotional roller coaster. As the story progresses, I'm thinking, hey, this movie is going to go in this direction. But nope, you gotta wait, hold your brakes, because it goes in the other direction and then it becomes more confusing than it already is. I would say that you should consider this movie as an embellished vision on Mother Earth. Mother Life herself. Some people call it Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it. Life in general, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, and the continuous roller coaster called life. Jennifer Lawrence plays Mother. Now, I didn't know that that was her character name until I looked it up, and I think that means a lot to the story. Jennifer Lawrence's character isn't very brave or bold during the course of the story, but as everything progresses, her emotions start to build up, causing her to rage and fully express herself. Javier Bardem plays him. That's right, you heard me right. His character's name is Him. Him is perfectly portrayed by Javier Bardem. His character has layers to him, and they aren't fully revealed until the end of the story. What I'm saying is, you may think one thing about him, but you don't know where his true spirit lies. Together, Mother and him make a couple that is plagued with one of the most common things that happen in past and modern relationships. Realistically, if someone comes into your house and you don't know them, of course you're going to freak out and say, "Hey, I don't know you. Why are you here? You need to leave, please." It's all right. I want them to stay. I don't want them here. This is my house. I just want some privacy with you. You know for an absolute fact that she loves this guy, Javier Bardem's character, because she's putting up with the constant crap that he's putting her through. Don't take that tone with me. Those people need help. Besides, I need to be there for them because we need to share love. We need to be together. We need to bring love into this house. You can see that he clearly controls the relationship by not letting her make any real decisions. I liked him and Mother's relationship together because it felt like most marriages. Jennifer Lawrence's performance comes off a stage, and that's what this movie feels like. It feels like the characters are in a play performing on a stage. When I first noticed the stagey performance, it didn't bother me, but once I felt like I knew what this movie was going for, I just kind of went with it. The performance does come off as hammy, but I think that was the direction Jennifer Lawrence was given from director Darren Aronofsky. Darren Aronofsky is one of my favorite directors. Movies like Requiem for a Dream, Pi, Black Swan are absolute masterpieces. But Darren Aronofsky also has some misses on his resume. The Fountain, I didn't like that, and Noah. He's a director, in my opinion, who goes for realism in his movies while also adding sprinkles of weirdness to them. Mother doesn't get any weirder than this. As everything is happening, it may seem like the story is straightforward, but then some weird stuff happens, and that's when you start questioning the reality, because it all seems exaggerated, and it feels that way in most scenes. However, it all makes sense when you really think about it. Like, you really have to think about it. This is what Darren Aronofsky does. He makes movies that get your heart pounding, they build suspense, they're filled with tension, and they just hit you emotionally. And with this, he just takes every single thing about life and all of the techniques that he uses as a director, blends them up into a big pot, throws some weirdness in there, throws some love, life, really stuff with the Bible, I would say too, and stirs it up in a big pot, serves it to you, and he says, now, you're either going to eat this shit up and absolutely love it, or you're going to throw this shit up and hate this movie. I'm with the initial part. I will say this. If the 2017 movie called A Ghost Story is a meditation on life, then the 2017 movie called Mother is the kindred spirit just on the opposite side. I will give Mother by Darren Aronofsky, the great Darren Aronofsky, an A+. If you like Ghost Story and you want to see the opposite side of that, then look no further because it is here with this movie called Mother. Yeah, there's some crazy shit and, goes on in the movie, but if you consider this an exaggerated fantasy blended perfectly with real world problems, then you will salivate in the theater like I did because we all see some pretty horrific things that go on in the real world, and this movie is just an exaggerated interpretation on that with a whole bunch of stuff, like random stuff sometimes about life, but then it also deals with the Bible, I think. I'm not sure. And this movie, to me, it's just overwhelmingly structured. And when you leave the theater, if you leave the theater talking about this movie, then it did its job. It did its job. If you hate it, it did its job. If you love it, it did its job. And I loved it. Whew. I like it. One of my favorite movies of 2017. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Get out of my house! You give and you give and you give. It's just never enough. No!